It's not even the fact that you can't get the GPU. It's the fact that you literally let people sit there in the cold for days on end, knowing you're not going to have more than 4 or 5 cards in stock for the majority of the locations. It's ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. Don't make the video. I'm going to make the video. Don't make the video. I'm going to make the video. All right, do what you want, but I'm telling you, you shouldn't make the video. Is it just me, or is it starting to feel like 2020 all over again? Today is January the 30th, 2025, and it's supposed to be the official launch of the 5080 and the 5090. However, it more so felt like this. A paper launch for the 5080 and the 5090. And now look, before we move on, fair warning, this will not be my normal polished content. It might be a little bit more ranty. Well, it will be more ranty. So just a fair warning on that. If you don't want to watch that, then click away. I'll catch you in the next one. But what you have to understand is I was not planning on making this video. This video was not on my roadmap. Today, I was supposed to release my 5080 review. And last week, I was hoping to release a 5090 review because at one point, I was actually in talks to get a review sample for the 5080 and the 5090. And it never showed up. Neither one of the cards ever showed up. But did you follow up with your contact? Yes, of course. Yes, I followed up numerous times. Never got my review samples. Now, I'm not above going out and paying for a GPU. After all, I still love GPUs, so I will go out and buy what I need to buy. But the problem is, you can't buy what you need to buy. Even when you're willing to show up, sit in the freezing cold, and pay way more than a GPU should ever freaking cost, you still can't buy one. That's right, just like 2020, every major retailer went from coming soon to out of stock in a blink of an eye. And I don't really think a lot of it had to do with bots this time around. I honestly believe there was just no stock. And you might say, well, why do you think that? Well, for a couple of reasons. The first reason I think that is simply because the reason why I didn't get my review samples is because there's not any stock. But the second reason is because there is a master list floating around on the internet for all the microcenters in America. And you can see exactly how many 5080s and how many 5090s all these microcenters had. And in total, out of every microcenter in America, there were only 233 5090s in total. Meanwhile, the 5080s had 2,393 5080s. And even those completely sold out. And some microcenters didn't even get a single 5090. Rockville, Chicago, and St. Louis Park, none of them got a single 5090. And the majority of microcenters got around 4 or 5 5090s, but for some reason, Tustin, California was able to get 67. Because, you know, well, that's fair, right? Now, speaking of microcenter, let me go in a little bit more there. So initially, I decided, okay, well, I know I'm not going to get my review sample, so let me go out and buy the card, right? So I went up to Microcenter, started talking to management, started talking to employees, made some connections, and I was initially told, hey, yeah, text this guy, he'll let you know how many 5090s we have on hand. But instead, what I get was, yeah, I'm going to tell you what the inventory is. And then I got, oh, sorry, management's telling me I'm not allowed to tell people what the inventory is. You know, you're just going to have to show up and find out. But the good news is we're turning away campers and, you know, nobody can camp until 9 p.m. Okay, maybe that gives me a chance. Wrong. Show up at Microcenter. There are over 100 people waiting in line to get the 5 5090s they have and the rest of the 4080s. 100 people are waiting in line to get these cards. And I took a good look around. I mean, there were people literally setting up game cubes with some type of power supply on the go, and they were playing games in the back of their trucks. You had people in tents, you had people in lawn chairs, you had people laying down with blankets. I don't really think Microcenter was turning people away until 9 p.m. I'm pretty sure these people were able to get there before 9 p.m. at my local Microcenter, but it doesn't stop there because other Microcenters around the country didn't even bother trying to put in a 9 p.m. rule. They just let people line up, and many people did. Many people lined up 3 and 4 days in advance at Microcenters just to have the opportunity to maybe possibly pay $2,000 or more for a 5090. That's ridiculous. And the thing that really blows me away even more is the fact that I make my GPU videos and I read all of your comments and I see as clear as day how many of you supposedly don't like Nvidia. You think the gen-on-gen performance is bad. You think that Nvidia charges too much money. And so the general consensus from what I understand on my YouTube channel as well as other people's YouTube channels is that people were not going to rush out and get these cards. Meanwhile, all over the country, there are lines wrapped around the building, 100+ people deep at times, just to get these cards. And so what I learned there was that YouTube is not reality. Even if I put out a video and generate 100,000 views and I get 2,000 comments or whatever, that is a fraction upon a fraction upon a fraction of the amount of people that will actually go out there and buy these cards. Now, why are there so many people buying these cards? Well, number one, I think FOMO is a very real thing, right? Fear of missing out. You know, people always want to be part of whatever's hot, right? And I get it. It's human nature to do that. But then number two, you do have a lot of 30 series owners that skip the 40 series cards and now they're itching for an upgrade, because as amazing as the 3080 was at first, it's definitely showing its age now. And so yeah, going from a 3080 to a 5080, you know, is definitely a good performance jump, and I get that. But of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room: scalpers. How many people in all of these lines were scalpers? And you might say, well, how would you know that? I'm actually re-recording this section of the video because instead of telling you how I knew these people were scalpers, we actually have definitive proof now. Number one, JayzTwoCents actually did a Microcenter event today for the launch of the 50 series GPUs, and he even autographed some people's boxes, and one guy already tried to scalp it on Facebook Marketplace. Jay posted about this on X, and he even called this guy out. Super shady and crappy person for doing something like this. Additionally, if you check Facebook Marketplace, you can see that people are posting 5080s and 5090s well over MSRP. And of course, you always have the crappy eBay listings. I never buy from eBay. I hate eBay for various reasons. Once again, more scalpers on eBay. Oh, well, you see, Erock, you're thinking too small, and that is your experience. You know, that's not indicative of how other people feel. Oh, really? It's not? Let's see. One person just left this comment not too long ago. Had Best Buy's site open for a week up until now, with the 5080 itself on one tab and the 5080 saved for later in my cart in another tab. Within seconds, I got constant errors, slow load times, and then the dreaded out of stock notification. Utterly miserable. When entire nations get cards in the single digits, it's definitely not a real launch. What's even worse is the inventory this time around was absolutely atrocious. And don't get me started with AIB card prices. $12.99 for a 5080, LOL. Today was my first and last attempt at buying launch day. Not worth getting my hopes up. It was a bad experience. And I think this is the thing that really drives people crazy, is that it's launch day and everybody's excited to, go out there and get these cards, but they can't get these cards. And then retailers have to get on their social media platforms and blast out to everybody, it's launch day, come get a 5080, come get a 5090, come to our website, NewEgg. Everybody's been on your website, NewEgg, all morning long, and you haven't had a single 5080 or a single 5090 in stock. It was a paper launch. Okay, so I've complained, I made my point. What do I propose as a potential solution? Well, the main solution is for Nvidia to not artificially limit the supply. And while I don't have concrete evidence that they are doing that, I'm pretty confident they're doing it, because from a business standpoint, it makes sense. You already have a little bit of FOMO out there, but then if you limit that supply, you're going to amplify the FOMO. So now for the next week, everybody will be F5ing and refreshing every single retail site over and over and over and over until eventually the hype dies down. But during that time, it generates pretty much guaranteed sales for Nvidia. And now Nvidia can go to their shareholders and say, our 5090 sold out, our 5080 sold out, and it looks good from a marketing standpoint. It's a business tactic. That's all it is. I really doubt that a $1 trillion company, I know they've lost some money this week due to DeepSeek, blah, blah, but the point is, Nvidia's got a lot of money, okay? I really doubt that they're struggling to manufacture these GPUs. You don't have COVID anymore. You don't have a crypto mining boom anymore. I mean, at this point, there should be plenty of GPUs to go around. But let's say I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't work in industry. Okay, let's say I'm wrong. Okay, if I'm wrong and you only have this amount of GPUs to work with, there is still a better solution. It's called a pre-order process, and I don't know why we don't use that. Why in the world is Microcenter letting people camp outside for 2, 3, 4 days at a time in the freezing cold in some cases when they know they only have 4 or 5 5090s in stock? Why? I don't get that. Just go outside, be a human, have a heart, and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want a 5090, you can have it. Just so you know, if you want a 5080, you can have it number 6 and onwards. But if you want a 5090, that's it. That's all we got. And that way people can then know, yeah, you know what? I don't really want a 5080. I'm going to go home and be with my family, be warm, have a warm meal. It's stuff like that drives me crazy. It's not even the fact that you can't get the GPU. It's the fact that you literally let people sit there in the cold for days on end, knowing you're not going to have more than 4 or 5 cards in stock for the majority of the locations. It's ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. But then even before that, going back to the whole pre-order process, the video game industry figured this out a long time ago. Back in the day, all the games were physical and there was a limited supply. And so you would go to GameStop or some other store and you could physically pre-order that game and it would guarantee that you would get a copy on launch day. Sure, pre-orders may be limited and that's fine, but at least you know 2 or 3 months in advance if you're going to be able to get it on launch day or not. You don't have to show up on launch day to find out, oh, they're out of stock. Okay. But if you are able to secure a pre-order, then you know you're going to get one. I honestly have no idea why we just don't implement the same exact solution for GPUs. We should. The way we're doing it is completely archaic and barbaric and just it's an awful way of doing it. Just let people pre-order the cards. If you only have pre-orders available for 5 cards, okay, then 5 cards it is, and that's it. But you don't have to have a line outside. And yes, I did make a video on my channel called Why I Missed the Xbox 360 Days. And in that video, I did talk about midnight releases and how I miss midnight releases, and I kind of wish we could bring that back. But see, here's the thing. With a midnight release, you pre-ordered the game, you were guaranteed to get the game, and then when you showed up at midnight to stand in line, sure, you might be in a long line, sure, it might be in the cold, but you're guaranteed to get that game at midnight. With a 50 series launch, that's not what it was. People were camping in line with no idea if they were going to actually be able to get a card or not. And I'm sorry, you can get mad at me all you want, but that is not the right way to do things. I'm grateful to have a Microcenter. Technically, I have 2 Microcenters in my state, but I strongly disagree with the way that they are handling GPU launches. I also disagree with companies like NewEgg getting on Twitter or X or whatever and acting like they got GPUs in stock when they don't. I understand it's all part of their marketing strategy and, letting people know, hey, we're a retail outlet too. You can buy GPUs here, but you can't. You don't have them. So how about you shut up until you actually have them and stop getting people's hopes up? Because when you look at the replies, people are all angry. They're all angry at you. And no, I don't necessarily believe that all publicity is good publicity, but maybe I'm wrong on that. The 5080 is not that great. It's 16 gigabytes, just like the 4080 and 4080 Super. Sure, the VRAM's faster, but it's still 16 gigabytes. It's hard to get excited about that on a $1,000 card in this generation. We have more 16 gigabyte cards than ever before now. That's not as good as it used to be. It's just not. But in addition to that, the 5080 is only 11% faster than the 4080 if you're looking at tech power-ups numbers. And then if you compare it to the 4080 Super, it's only 9% faster. It's pathetic. And then, yeah, sure, with the 5090, in some cases, you can get up to 30%. Hardware in box got 27% on the performance uplift. But at the same time, you're paying for all of that. You're paying about 25 to 30% extra for the card, and there's about 25 to 30% extra on the power draw of the card as well. I don't understand what about these reviews that got so many people so amped up to go out there and buy these cards. I legitimately don't understand. So please let me know in the comment section below. But hey, look, that's all I got for this video. I'm sorry, it was a little bit ranty. Like I said in the beginning, this was not the video I was going to make. I was not supposed to make this video, but I needed to get something up on the channel. I needed to get some of this stuff off my chest. I was very discouraged by what I saw last night. I think Nvidia should do a better job with their GPU launches. I think Microcenters should do a better job. I think all retail stores should just do a better job with all these GPU launches. It's a hot item. People want it. You should develop a pre-order system. You should communicate early and often with your stock levels and how much you have. Don't leave people sitting out in the cold. In my opinion, that's not cool. Anyway, that's all I got for the video. If you liked it, do me a favor, hit the like button. I will not be engaging in negative comments. If you leave a negative comment, I'm just going to say thanks for the engagement. And to everybody else, I look forward to talking to you down below. Let me know what your experience was like on launch day. Were you able to get a 50 series card? Are you even interested in getting a 50 series card? Anyway, with all that being said, I got to get out of here. Until next time, E-Rock out.